What, work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Infrequently, as he says.
All right. Well, love you, buddy.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're family and all, so.
Fair enough.
Yes.
All right. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Welcome back.
Yes, good to see you all again.
Yes, coffee before bed.
Absolutely, yes.
Podcast that suffers from frequent technical difficulties.
Yes, but we've overcome them all through sheer determination.
Well, that's a good theory.
Don't jinx us. It's like,
Right.
we're batting 1,000 so far, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking very dapper today, Patrick. I like it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
I came from work.
How was it?
Oh, work was good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Got back in town about an hour and a half ago. Went and had a beer. So.
Nothing wrong with that?
No.
No, it's fine. I had a... What?
Yeah. Well, no, man. I got like a bunch of international students this semester.
Yeah.
They're very cool. I miss them.
Oh!
So, yeah. So, like, last 2 years with COVID.
Yeah.
So, and now all of a sudden I get this, like, huge knot of international students. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So, it's so good to see them back. So, I blessed a couple of them into America Dome a couple of weeks ago. Did I tell you about that?
What was the occasion?
One of them showed up wearing a Bass Pro hat.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so they're just like completely into America.
Good for them.
Yeah. So
Don't believe all the stories you've heard.
Correct. Yeah.
Especially on American TV.
Well, yeah. So because like I don't know how much America TV they get over there. So
I don't know. So, I mean, it's a weird thing. When you take what you think about other cultures, right? If you're playing that game of international telephone where somebody actually watches an international program, takes that, multiplies it by 10, and then tells your friends, right? You know, you get what you get, right? I mean, I've heard people say this, and this is an exaggeration, but, you know, it's like, you live in America, you get to show that twice before you get to convenience store, right? Or whatever, right? You know, it's take whatever the presentation is, and you...
I saw an awesome video like yesterday about Boris Yeltsin actually visiting America before he actually like renounced his like membership in the Communist Party.
Oh yeah.
So this was like 1991. So before all the shit changed in Soviet Russia.
Well, I mean.
So, but anyway, they took him to a place. To see a rocket launch in Cape Canaveral.
Yeah.
All right. So, but anyway, like on the way back, he was like, fuck, I'm hungry. And so they stopped at like a fucking Buc-ee's. Well, whatever the 1991 equivalent of a Buc-ee's was. Yeah. No. It's just like some like Kroger, kind of thing. And he was like just flabbergasted by it. He's like, wait, there's meat? Well, yeah, in the cereal aisle. So they have a video of him walking down the cereal aisle, and he's just like completely like flummoxed by it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I saw that yesterday.
Grab those coasters.
Oh, you need a coaster?
Well, yeah, I took off the little pad here for a second,
yeah.
so
We'll do coasters.
I'm gonna thump this. We're very polite. No, that's communism. It's fucking communism. It's so. What do you?
Yeah, but it was just like you can watch him like walking through the aisles, and he's just like completely flummoxed by it. I mean, it's just like, what the fuck, But it was a rando stop on a rando way back from Cape Canaveral. And so there's no way it could
it's
be
not
staged.
North Korea. It's not China. It's not.
Yeah. So, and they were doing like, all right, so the video was a little bit like, America.
Of course.
Kind of thing where they were showing like, grocery aisles in Russia where there's like bones.
Yep. there he is. That's that moth that flies out of my wallet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do you get over here?
Alliance behind it? Yeah.
Where are you going, buddy?
And so it was this whole thing about like, okay, so a year and a half later, he like, completely disassociated himself from the Communist Party and stuff. But, it was also one of these things where he was just like completely like floored by, wait a minute, this isn't a special thing?
Yeah.
Well, no, this is on the way from here, point A to point B. So, and anybody in this community, this is where they get their hamburger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, it's... I don't know, man. I watched it. I was like a little bit more sympathetic. So towards like Russians. Yeah. So
Russians now or Russians then?
Well, it was back then, but I don't know how much different it is now. So,
well,
honestly, I've never had any. I've had a couple Ukrainian students. I've never had a Russian student.
I've had both.
Yeah. Well, I know. That's why I like asking you about this. Well,
so all of mine, they're here, and they all say the same thing, right?
Okay. But they have a connection with that Russia.
Well, some of them do. Some of them are from, I don't know, what you would call the New Russia, or when you write the history of Russia, right, and you basically take that period forward, whatever you choose to call it, New Russia, Russia, I don't know.
Klepto Russia?
Yeah, whatever era this is, right? They do say that there's a lot of problems, right? And they say that, in the current era, there are some people that kind of wish that things were the way they were. And they did so some of them actually had some of the special privileges, right? Because they were doing things like competing, right? So they actually treat you really well for a while. Then you get dumped back into Gen Pop.
Gen Pop?
Yeah, general population. So
you're out of the chute, right? No longer an headset.
Because for a while, when you're, I'm trying to remember. Which person was it? They were actually competing in something that you wouldn't expect. It was like chess or something like that. But if you're on the competitive circuit, right, you're treated exceptionally well, right? But when you travel for competitions and stuff, you'd have a handler with you, right? And so it's like,
what do they steer you away from places? Or?
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to wander off. You're not supposed to you're not supposed to disappear. You're not supposed to see too much of the world, because you come back and you say, "Fucking Russia blows," right?
Huh.
Yeah, so, but
shit, that's interesting. I've had my Chinese students years ago kind of say slightly similar things, but, it's like you can only spend your money in so many places.
Right.
Yeah, and get comp for it. So...
Yeah, so that was the thing, is you do these things, and you were supposed to, represent the country, and a lot of people liked doing that, right?
Well, sure.
But then afterwards, it's, you're done with this. You're not competitive anymore.
About you go. Yeah. Really?
Mm-hmm. And so the story now is, they don't hide it. They say, if you're the people that can afford it, Russia is awesome, right? If you're in that part of the class, right, it's a great place to live. Wonderful, right? There aren't that many people that are in that class.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who can afford to send their kids to the West. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then there's the other part of it is a lot of people get out.
Well, that's my understanding now, is that there's a whole shit ton of people from the entire Slavic world there that are just like, fuck this. If I can afford to get out, I'm going to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so basically it's like a hand-holding chain, right? Is if someone manages to get out, right? Then I swear to God, it's like the Underground Railroad, where it's just like, then
Really?
the next person. Well, it's not like it's illegal, but it's like one person sets up, okay, and then they're going to just grab family members and pull them out, like
So
one
they
by
can
one.
get visas.
Get them out,
Got it.
right? Get them out.
Brutal.
And it's not that nobody sits there and says like, well, we're leaving now because we go to sleep to machine gun fire. I can't go to bed anymore without it. It's
Right.
It's just it's just lacking. It's just it's got a hopeless edge to it. If you don't have, so there's a.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, say for example, when I would ask about like how is this situation with the Russia-Ukraine situation happening? Like, why are people actually not turning around and saying, well, there's more of us than him. This guy's a fucking idiot, right? He's leading our country into disaster. The thing is, the absolute... they have faith in their system, right? More than it's a religion to a lot of people, where it's just like they have, that's the cornerstone of their life.
This is what Russia has always done. Yeah, got it.
That's the cornerstone of their life, and if you disrupt that, you disrupt them. That's why they will not let that idea even permeate.
It's just that like self-flagellation is just a part of the culture.
See that? Yeah. They're already breed. Well,
yeah.
The other thing that I was told here, and this was, of course, by... I'm so lucky to have a person that's very in the psychology field. She's just a couple of doctors, actually. They say it's like people from the Slavic world do not manage their pain well.
Right. That's really interesting. So, like 2 days ago, there's this guy that I listened to on Spotify, Michael Shermer. Are you familiar with him? He's a skeptic, so he's done a lot of skeptic stuff. But he had this really good, he had a really good guest on the other day that was actually really talking about, like being a part of a cult.
Yeah.
And so this guy was telling how he was part of the Moonies, which are long gone, but apparently still out there. I didn't know they actually run the Washington Times. That's the Moonies. They bought that shit like 20 years ago. Right. It's kind of like my mom, like telling me, well, there's this paper called Epoch Times that's really great. I was like, oh, no. I know all about them. Yeah. So, but apparently Washington Times is run by the Moonies. All right, so this guy was a Moonie back in the, 80s.
Now, well, okay, before you jump in, okay, is this like a watered down, chilled out version of the Moonies, or are they still...
This guy made it sound like they're still active, so apparently they own some fucking machine gun factory in South Korea.
Those people?
Right, yeah, exactly. And even though the guy's been dead for a fucking decade and stuff, they still have this M16 factory. So, but anyway, that's not the point.
Okay,
that's not where I was going with
I'm so
that.
sorry.
All right.
That's, anyway.
So, anyway, he was this guy who was a former Moonie was actually contracted to go and talk to Russians, not too long, but a little bit after, the Berlin Wall fell and Yeltsin took power and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
And he was telling them about, the different things that it takes in order to make a successful cult. So, and they were like, wait a minute, that's how our state operates.
Right, check.
Yeah.
I got them all, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I win?
Yeah, and so, limitation of information from the outside. So, education programs that are actually designed to set people up to think a certain way. And then the other one is, reinforcement amongst your neighbors, that'll tell you to do, just based upon, previous, almost patriotic kind of
yes,
lines.
The people who do the legwork for you.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, useful
the soft reinforcement.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so apparently he was talking to some of these top psychologists in the Soviet Union. They're like, Oh, fucking shit. We've been doing this for 60 years.
You asked, like, so how long does that take to go away, right? Is that...
This doesn't really come out in a second run through the laundry, does it?
So, like, what do you solve this, like, with bed rest or aspirin or both? Right. Yeah.
Calisthenic exercises.
Tell it to me straight, Doc.
Yeah.
I gotta change the way I eat.
Yeah. No, it was just really interesting. I was listening to that just like 2 nights ago, and it was like, holy fucking shit, man. It's the same thing, man. This whole thing about, like, so you have to have a victim. So, and the victim ideology is based upon, like, some kind of national ideology that was victimized by outside forces, mainly Nazis, or the Europeans in general.
Or the Europeans, or if you're in North Korea, they think the South Koreans are the ones who've been victimizing you.
Well, and that was really interesting about this, like, Mooney thing.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, absolutely, because this guy was saying that it was like, well, hey, look, I told the CIA everything that I was doing and stuff like that, and he was a recruiter and he was a trainer and all this shit. So, and he presented this all to the CIA, and they were like, oh, that's cool. So, because North Korea. So they're like, oh, okay, so this is a way to actually orient the South Koreans towards, or, blah, 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 which, I don't know, that is what it is. So, but at the same point in time, I mean, look at it on the underside, and it's like, oh, well, shit, they're much better at it than you are.
Considerably, yes.
Considerably,
yes. And, that is the other funny part of that is, like, if you take into consideration, a lot of it's not a lot of. There are plenty of the old guard, the people who basically haven't died yet. That do regret the old days passing by. But it wasn't
South Koreans.
No, in Russia, right?
Oh, okay.
And they've spoken about this, and the thing is, it's not as though their life has become demonstrably worse, right? Because it's not true, right?
Sure.
But what they talk about is they miss that sense of purpose, which is basically being,
right,
to them would have been being yanked out of a cult involuntarily.
Right, extricated.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you spend so much of your life in it, and, like,
it's your identity.
Are completely...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, like, I don't know. So maybe your Russian students would empathize with this a little bit, but I've had Slavic students who, completely empathize with the fact that, like, it's like, oh, well, Western Europe's always been the them.
Right.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Mm-hmm. And they're always against us, kind of thing. So.
Well, you want to ask, it's like, were you against them?
Right.
Is this a one-way street?
How many Schustoffel bolts do we put on this tank? Yeah.
Did you give back what you took?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get that. So I don't know, man. Like, the thing on that whole side of, like, the eastern piece of Europe that I don't empathize with is just the complete, like, self-flagellation, where it's like, well, we always suck. We're going to suck, so we're going to fight you,
right,
kind of thing.
Right.
I don't really get that.
No, it's bully mentality.
Yeah? Is that Winnie the Dog?
Well, in some ways, yeah. If you sit there, if you... So it's one thing to take shit, okay? So... I'm going to put it this way. So you have probably met a few people in life if you've sat down with them for a second, right? Mm-hmm. And you just caught up with them and they told you things about their life, right? You would never imagine that person went through what they did, right? Some guys, they'll sit there and tell you, like, you talk stories to them, they're, like, super cheerful guys, but then, like, they'll break it down and say, like, yeah, so, I mean, there were 5 of us, my first 2 brothers died when I was 2, that sucked, but, but there are these people who have gone to, no, I'm telling you.
No,
like,
I get you.
It's the same, they went to war or whatever, and they'll tell you all these stories, and then when they, look at you, you're just like, they're incredibly cheerful, right? So there's something where on that end you haven't let that rot take over you and your culture, where it's just so if all you see yourself is through the shit you've gone through, right? And you let that hang on you. You let that define you. You let that, right? You let eventually your attitude, it just flips, right? It's there's this heavy weight where for some people, boom, it just switches. And if you have a culture that is like that, look, I asked, like, this is one of my common questions. So one of the people I work with now, she is very interested in linguistics, right? That's why she's working with me, right? Because she wants to she wants to broadcast, right? She used to, but she wants to do that here. She was doing it in Russia before, so she wants to clean up her English. But that's one of the things that she talks about, especially just in terms of like customs, right? It goes so far in the way of like even the way that you greet each other, right? You never ask in Russia. You never ask an open-ended greeting.
So how you doing?
You wouldn't dare.
What would you say instead?
Good morning.
So you're gonna put a period on the end of it.
Yeah, and then the response is done. It's just like yes.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a good morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's observational, right? You wouldn't ask somebody how they're doing, number one, if you didn't want to know. Number two, if you weren't familiar with this person, right? Unless you were.
You wouldn't want to open yourself to question. Got it.
You wouldn't dare, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from the fact that this is what she was saying. It's like men, especially there, do not. They internalize their problems like shit, right? It is all just a series of people who do not know how to mitigate their, their pain that they're going through, right? We all do. It's like the question of whether or not we mitigate our own stress is what makes us different as people.
Sure.
Right? Some people have more of it, some people have less. But how do you handle it?
You're not open to expose that to other people. Because they'd be like, oh, you fucking pussy. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, what would you not do? Oh, expose vulnerabilities to person. Yes.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Let me give you some dirt on me. That's good.
Yeah, so that means that I get your spam tickets.
Sort of it, man.
Yeah.
Let me share my secrets with you. You certainly won't use those against me.
All right, so there's a piece of that I see as admirable, but there's like a lot more of it I see as like completely shitty.
Well, so the part of it that works is, generally speaking, when you have to get stuff done, and how it gets done doesn't matter. Right. That's very successful, right? That's the.
I fed my kids tonight. What the fuck is your problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. Or, they tell me to kill men's, I kill men's.
I kill men's. So I go home, hug wife.
Hug wife, eat blended dinner. Yeah. Yeah.
Blended dinner.
Yeah. But you see my point. In times, so the best way I can liken this to is like, so you have experience with. Look, we're the no callous crowd.
Right.
Okay, I'm waving your hand at you. I don't have these anymore from.
No, me neither.
I got them from weightlifting, but that's different.
But
that's a controlled environment. Okay.
Yeah.
Hucking luggage, or in my case, like the Roughnecks, or the yard guys, or okay. So there's not a one of those dudes. Okay, I promise you, there's not one of those dudes that didn't turn around. They're hungover. They're like, but I still got to go to work. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I gotta go swing the hammer the next day. I just gotta get through it. Right. Where there's a crowd that, yes, I don't feel well. I'm not going to go to work today. It's I'm tired. I'm going to take a mental health day. Right.
Western sissies. Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, I get it.
So if you're Russian, no, you don't. It's like, yeah, you're hungover. Fucking get to work. That's what you do. Yeah. Right. But at the same time,
don't stop for you, comrade.
Thank you. Yeah. And then, but when you flip it around, what's the drawback of being that guy in every other social situation?
Oh shit, man! You're the guy. They're like, fuck that guy. Like, you're costing me sick time, bro.
Because then you get the other end of it's like, what do you mean you can't come to work? what do you mean? Why am I supposed to bail you out?
Oh, right,
You know,
exactly,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, because the thing is, you take people who have a lot of internalized hurt, right? And then you just like, you were looking at the girl. This girl belonged to me, right? You know, and
Right. Oh God, yes.
yeah, you find reasons
Yeah.
to
Reasons.
to go get in tussles, right? Reasons to start arguments, reasons to...
See, that's why like Irish and Italian culture has died out in the United States.
It has pockets.
It has pockets, but
Yeah.
like still at work, you're like, you got a sniffle? You might have COVID. Get the fuck home.
Get out.
Get the fuck out of here, man. You're gonna fuck all the rest of us. Yeah. So it's like you're not proving nothing to nobody. Yeah. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the...
Yeah, that's totally what that is. So
And you know what? If people can turn it on and off, that's good, right? Because you and I both know that...
to a point.
Hold on. All right. So
All right.
I know people don't want to hear this shit, and it is what it is. And I'm not putting this as not against women or anything like that. But part of the thing about being a guy is, when all's said and done, there is a point where if push comes to shove, you have to be able to like do it, right? You
Sure,
have to be able
yeah.
to jump into that mode.
Yeah.
You don't expect. Here's the thing: you don't expect your girlfriend, you don't expect your wife. You never have that expectation where you say, "Get in the mode." If she does, awesome.
Cool.
But if she never does, you're like, "That's fine. I'm glad you never had to do this."
Yeah, no.
right?
Yeah.
But there's something where you have to say, like, look, if it comes down to
Depends on the job too, but yeah.
well, job or even like a family situation where you're like,
Oh, absolutely,
like
yeah.
if it comes down to it, you're like, well, I don't have anything else. I have to like let me grab a bottle. I have to take care of my family, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to, but you have to be able to flit on that male mode, right?
Sure.
If it comes to push comes to shove.
Yeah.
Now some people, like I said, they can do it easier than others, right? It's
Yeah.
just I work on a crab boat.
Yeah, no, that breadwinner mode kind of thing.
It's just gotta get done
Yeah.
at any
Yeah.
cost. Like
Yeah.
they won't accept excuses for me. If I don't do this, I don't get paid. I need to get paid, right? Or if I don't do this, something
Right.
could happen to my kid. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I have to yell at this person. I have to go.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a big differentiation between like what's going on in like Eastern Europe or China or wherever, as opposed to here, where it's kind of like you're fucking endangering other people's livelihoods. Stay the fuck home. Yeah.
Go on. Yes.
Yeah.
Explain. Okay. Talk about that for a second. There are people that argue that still comes from basically the pre-United States Puritan roots.
Well, it probably does on a certain respect, but like one thing that the pre-United States or like early United States Puritan roots has going for it is that little piece of libertarianism
Yeah.
that is always like, okay, I can swing my fist as long as it don't hit you in the face.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's something that just hasn't bitten in a lot of the other parts of the world. And so COVID kind of like exposed that in some respects. It's like, hey, fucker, I like, like you affect me if you show up to work sick and I get sick
Yeah.
and then I have to do this shit. It might affect me in a different way than it does you. All right. So just stay home 2 days.
Right. And
Suck down your sick time.
Yeah.
Like I used to see guys in the union all the time. They like preserve their sick time like it's fucking gold. Mm-hmm. And it's like, motherfucker, you're gonna lose that. And let alone I don't have that because I don't know. My fucking kid has cancer. And so
Yeah.
I burned through all my shit. And so don't show the fuck up here with meningitis.
Well, and the other piece of that too,
Because honestly, it's not that big a deal. So, that's the thing that all right, so a lot of my students who come from Eastern Europe and the Middle East in particular, like a fucking $5 infraction on their part, is like a fucking $1,000 infraction on your part. And so it's like, no, man, it's not a zero-sum game, Do you understand what I'm talking about here?
What do you mean?
So, like, the whole thing is like, oh, well, I got away with, like, you know, an extra $1 off my, you know, fucking, or an extra $1.50 that I got paid for doing the same work that you did. Ha ha ha! I'm better than you are.
Okay.
You know, kind of thing. And it's like, well, no, not really, man. I mean, you know, it's not that much. But every nickel really fucking counts in certain parts of the world. We're here, like, you know, where it's like, oh no, man. You know, the importance is that we all get paid next week. Not today.
Right.
And so you gotta kind of keep that perspective in mind, you know. And so all right, so fine. Oh, okay, cool. You got like an extra like half an hour of overtime, so you showed the fuck out of all of us. But you know, if that actually causes the company to go Tango uniform next week, that's a fucking problem for the rest of us. And so we're gonna beat the shit out of you in a parking lot.
I totally see what you're saying. That's the Does
Bonnie. That make sense?
No, it's the Bonnie situation of fucking Pulp Fiction, because it's
exactly
just like I'm gonna get fucking divorced, man. I don't want to get fucking divorced. So do your thing. Get you need to call some people, whatever, right? You don't like it, but it's like I have to make this go away, right? Because this ruins it for everybody. But yeah, you're right. I know where that mentality comes from in some ways. I know that's part of the whole, anything I can take, I will take, right? I can just fuck, well,
there's no sense of, what's going to happen next week. It's all about what's going to happen tomorrow. Yep. Yeah. So
I'm sure you've been to plenty of events where you would be surprised. Like, you go to, a company lunch or, an in-service, right? And
somebody's packing up shit and going home with it? Yeah.
And they're going table to table and seeing who didn't, take this. And,
right, yeah, exactly. Did you touch that? No. It's like, yoink.
Oh, yeah. So someone's like, I don't care if you did. Right? It's...
right.
Yeah. And I understand, because you see them, they're in a position higher than you would think, but you're like, but you got it by being this kind of hungry. I don't mean physically hungry, but...
Right, yeah.
But these assholes are throwing this away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This
is value.
I had nothing when I was younger, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole clean your entire plate bullshit. Yeah.
Shit, this is we are so post scarcity, it's not even funny.
Well, correct. But at the same point in time,
that attitude has got to go.
I see so many people still expound that attitude in companies even these days. Where it's like, well, take all you can right now because it might not be there tomorrow. It's like, well, you have to think about the relationships that you build today will sustain you tomorrow.
Right.
And so if I take your fucking, leftover Tupperware today, at today's, potluck, I teach you not to bring that tomorrow. Yeah, okay.
And on top of that, there is the other point of, well, let's say, for example, that we do make it to tomorrow. Wouldn't it be better if we had something to start with instead of everything being cleaned out?
Yeah, and sitting in your fridge with tinfoil on it?
Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be great. It's so you ate half the donuts yesterday. Wouldn't it be great if half the donuts were here today? But rather than that, you took them home tomorrow. I'm going to try and sell me a fucking donut today.
As a matter of fact, what you did was you took them home, ate so many donuts that you don't want to eat any more donuts.
Give me the leftovers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be hungry tomorrow.
Yeah.
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 This is what I'm talking. This is what I was talking about
totally
the other week ago when it comes to biological survival. We still treat it that way, as in you don't know when you're going to get your next meal. And I get it. In some ways, you don't. But
but you live in this world today.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So you should be able to tamp that down a little bit.
There's moderation in all things, man.
That's correct.
Look, it's the same attitude that we have toward life, right? It's just you and I have seen people last way longer than they deserved and go way sooner than they should, right? And you see people
both ends.
You see people where man, if you had 2-3 more years, you would enjoy the shit out of life, right?
Well, if you had a timestamp on it, you knew that, yeah.
Exactly, right? But these are people, it's like you would have enjoyed it because you'd been basically like packing away donuts for, whatever. It's I don't know what your mortgage and donuts is, but whatever. You've been packing this away for a long time, didn't get to enjoy it, right?
Correct.
So it's all about finding that, okay, I'm going to enjoy today, but I still will likely, I may not be, but I'll likely be here tomorrow too.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not going to eat all the donuts every day. Yes. Because then when it's time to get up in the morning after like week 6, like your wife pushes you because you're huge, and you say, well, she's like, go to work, and you're like, I don't want to move, right? It's
I can't do that right now. Give me more donuts. Yeah. No, man, it's like I said, there's a divide between. There are like legit cultural divides, between what's going on here and what's going on in places like Russia or China. Where it's like grab it all that you can today because like there's nothing going on tomorrow. We might not even be here, kind of shit. Or like it's totally backwards in some respects, and I don't know, man. So, like, right now, I'm really blessed. I have an Iranian student right now, and he's fantastic.
Yeah?
So, he's totally forward-thinking and stuff, and that's why he's in the United States, kind of thing. He's just, like, kind of sees, how you can blend the old with the new. I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. So, but just different mentalities. And he navigates this beautifully. I have another student from Pakistan. He's great too. Like even today, he demonstrated an exercise where like I would expect him to completely be cutthroat on shit.
Yeah.
But he was totally like, no. I have to have a relationship with you tomorrow, man. And so,
yeah.
And he did the right thing, and I pointed him out for it, and I was so proud of him. Because I haven't had a Pakistani student in quite a while. So
that's cool.
But it was just like, this isn't a fucking East versus West kind of thing. It's kind of like today versus tomorrow kind of thing, and, there are some people who are definitely tomorrow thinking, and there's a lot of people out there, especially in positions of power, who are today thinking, and
of course.
Fucking hey, man, it was like really refreshing to see like folks from all over the world, kind of like, we're thinking about tomorrow. So it's like, good, keep doing that, please.
Well, this is the part that I butt heads with in terms of things like very traditional cultures, right? This is one of the really tough divides when it comes to making excuses or making allotments for different cultures, etc. Saving face, but more so like
we should talk about that.
Okay, put a pin in that. We're going to come back.
Put a pin on that one. Yeah.
This may have something to do with that. This may have something to do with that because the issue I have here is. And think about how this plays into politics. I hate doing this, but I'm going to take this there for a second,
sure,
right? Is, so if you're courting a group, right? If you're courting a group into your party, right? The whole idea is to take that party and say, no, you want to be over here. They say, why? Okay? You don't paint them a path of, because you've come from a society that's been wounded and we want to rehabilitate you.
Sure.
Right? I get it. They're like, well, that doesn't sound right. It's like
I understand I empathize with that.
I do,
sure,
right? But instead, it's the other option. It's not. Well, you need to do this. We need to do this. We're going to meet in the middle. It's going to be if you're going to court somebody. It's no. You've done nothing wrong.
Right, yeah. I need you guys to come back to here. Yeah.
Right. So let me put my
detected, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me put my tacit stamp on everything that you do and make that sacred, right? Now, this is the thing that successful cultures will do, right? This is successful cultures do not they'll respect tradition, but they will not stand on it. They will say,
that's a good point.
I can keep this, right?
Yeah.
Because this doesn't interfere with me feeding my family, right? I can still pay respect to my ancestors, right? But I'm not going to turn away. No smart business. You and I talked about this, like, we could go back, we could repeal all the civil rights shit, but most businesses are going to be like, no, I'm going to still serve everybody because that's where the money is, right?
Yeah.
Even if I think it's just like, it's Pakistanis or whatever your attitude is, right? You're still going to take their money, right?
Well, sure.
And so you get people here. It's just like look at some sects of like Israel. It's like, I'm not supposed to touch the infidels. I'm like, fuck off. It's like, they take their money.
They got money.
Yeah. So that's a part of your tradition that you can say, well, I don't think that's right. Right. So the things that make sense, I'm going to stay with, but everything else, I'm going to steal. Right. Everything else, I'm going to look at. This is like where smart culture. They say they look. This is where we have been brain draining the entire world. Right. And that's their problem. This is our benefit. That's your problem, right?
Exactly.
Is people come here, right?
Yeah.
And they're bringing their ways of doing things, but the smart ones are like, well, but you also do this, so I'm going to take this, right?
Sure.
You eat a little bit of everything at the buffet. You don't just sit there and say like mac and cheese. It's like, then just
I'm gonna pour this under the chocolate fountain.
Seriously, then just go to the mac and cheese shop, right?
Right.
Why did you come to a place with 120 different foods? And again, that's the same problem I have with politics, right? That's why we end up flipping parties about every 35 years. Is I'm going to snatch this group and say you've done nothing wrong. They're like, well, I'm going to take these guys, right?
Yeah.
Right? So
and see, that's exactly what the Republican Party is doing with the Democrats right now. So they are gutting the fuck out of the middle class and the lower middle class from the Democrats. And so the Democrats are going to lose for the next 10 years. So as long as the Republicans can't... As long as they stay away from the fucking crazy. So...
okay, not necessarily stay away, because
some of the crazy is going to help.
Crazy is part of what makes them work.
I read a really good book about this in the last 2 months about how, like, insanity has always been a part of the Republican Party, even back to its founding with the whole idea of abolition. So there's always been a crazy fucking element behind the Republican Party. And it's just dependent on, like, how much the rest of the vast bulk, the middle chunk of America, which has always been a thing and always will be a thing, like...
It'll take different forms.
Just identifies with that. And so, like, so the Civil War was kind of like this really, like... like cut point moment where it's like you're over here or you're over there,
right?
And so there's been very few times since then where like the Republicans haven't been able to manage their own like element of crazy. So because it never got that bad ever since then. So but like you even go back to like Calvin Coolidge and like the whole thing is there's an interesting cut point with like FDR going over to Truman and then Eisenhower, where Eisenhower's like, no, actually the New Deal's going to be a thing. And so this blob of the Republican Party was like, yeah, okay, cool. And the same thing, Reagan did the exact same thing. So the question is like Trump and Trumpism really that far out from where like most of Americans are to be like spun off as a crazy thing, and can it go over to like a guy like DeSantis? And I'm not convinced on that, man. So because like the dude's still a thing. So and like I mean, you talk about the king troll out there who control better than everybody else control, especially on like woke issues and stuff. He's still out there, but if he wasn't there, would it coalesce around something like DeSantis? My answer is probably yes. So
Okay, so I would argue this is actually the new thing that I started to notice about this, especially since DeSantis started his campaign, unofficial campaign.
Yeah, he's got to get through the legislative session in Florida first.
Via this book tour, right? And
Which hit the New York Times bestseller in the first week. So,
well, this is sort
I
of...
haven't read it yet. Have you?
No.
No, okay.
No, and I probably won't. I just, for me, it's like, I find political books like this to be incredibly self-serving.
They're totally masturbatory.
So, I got better ways to spend my time than watch a 50-year-old man jerk off on me. Like, they pay money, get it done right. But I mean, like so he starts this not in a big place, but a very small bookstore.
It was in Florida, though, right?
It is in Florida, but not in one of the big places, right?
Not in woke Disneyland, yeah.
No, he didn't put it right in the middle of Disneyland. He didn't put it right in the middle of his base. He did it on the corridor, right? And I just listened to something. Actually, it's confidential information, but I just listened to guys that were there, right? That this hasn't come out yet, but the thing about this is, a lot of people are saying that DeSantis isn't fantastic at non-controlled events, right? They say a lot of his attitude is...
like Trump rallies?
Right. So they say he's not necessarily great on the fly. They say he's great at when he can control who can get in, and he lets in, local press.
His guys, yeah.
Well, not just his guys, right? He wants people in there on the local level that can toss him some questions where he can yell at them.
He doesn't want the woo crowd.
Right. You can't let the pandemonium come in, but you let people go in there and they ask you questions, and they have plenty of cuts of him, like shouting someone down or like...
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Well, Barack Obama did the same thing. He was great at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. They say that he wasn't a great on his feet speaker.
Correct.
Right? This was actually what they compared it to. Now, what I'm starting to see here, because Trump is still polling ahead. There's been like one poll that showed DeSantis ahead, but it wasn't by much. The polls
up in New Hampshire too. Yeah, I saw that
like
one.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't. In New Hampshire, I wouldn't expect anything different. It's like,
well, they kind of had a little bit of like political fatigue anyway. So the guys who are really dedicated one way or the other show up.
I think the people who were in closest proximity to Trump before his presidency are the ones least likely to say, like, it's like, dude, I knew you when you were, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
when you were still walking the boardwalks.
Like, when you were putting on, like, magic shows on the fucking... Watch me levitate. Yeah. Like, it's like when you were...
I seen you saw that woman in half.
No. Exactly. Like, oh, look, he's a sorcerer. Yeah,
see my problem with that. So my problem is I don't think that that's actually been bled out of the primary constituency.
No way.
Yeah, and so I gotta be blunt with you, and I don't like this because I despise the Orange Menace on many levels. Now, policy-wise, I don't disagree with him on a lot of things. It's the delivery and the persona behind it.
I think it's the presentation.
I think it's the man. So
I agree.
Yeah.
You could wrap those. Okay, if you could divorce the ideas, right, from the package they come in.
The vessel that delivers them, yes.
Right. That doughy, I don't even know what kind of ship you'd compare it to.
I don't know. Well, see, that's what my dad, that was his problem with Donald Trump all the time, because he came from New York.
That's what
He's like, this guy's a fucking shyster.
Yeah.
And always has been, but he's saying things that I agree with, so what the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
How do I reconcile these things? And, putting up Hillary Clinton against him was an easy no-brainer for my dad. So I'm a little bit more like blobbish, and I have a little bit more faith in institutions than most people on my side.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of boxed into a corner there. So, but like the thing is that he says things that I agree with. I just don't like the guy that is saying those things.
Right.
I don't think Ron DeSantis can fill those shoes.
Well, so this is what I came to realize.
Unless that guy's gone. And I don't want to, like, wish a bullet in the head of anybody.
Certainly not.
So, yeah.
But, you know, there's no reason that he's not just out, you know, sightseeing on a Florida cliff. Wait, no, that's near sea level. That's not... All right.
Just push him in the sand.
Oof. Yeah, it's like...
We're not talking about the white sands of Dover.
Right. So no, you're right. So it's not breaking news today. During a free fall or a free form, you know, rock climbing contest in Moab.
Jesus. How many ropes does he need? Yeah.
Oh, this is freehand, no ropes.
Freehand,
right?
yeah, no ropes.
You get like one corner of your pinky in a crack and use it. You ever seen those guys? But
oh yeah,
they're freakishly strong. But no, the thing that I noticed about Ron DeSantis is, I think their relationship is, I don't know if they're doing this on purpose, but I think their mutual existence actually benefits both of them.
It could, yeah.
Because what I'm seeing here is DeSantis wouldn't have done what he'd done to Florida. Not to, that makes it sound like I'll kill your family. Right.
With Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done what he did with Florida if basically there wasn't somebody pushing something so far out there that his reaction seemed normal. Right? Kind of like what I talked about, you know, like gay normalization. Like, somebody's got to go out there with like dog collars on for people to say like, well, screw those guys, but you guys are cool.
Yeah, you guys are fine. Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point.
It's a symbiotic relationship where his normal...
But can they both survive in the same arena? That's the question.
If they talk. I
don't think you're going to talk. I mean, like, just... Like, okay, so we know who Donald Trump is. Mm-hmm. So he will broach no contenders.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If he basically comes to an agreement and says, okay, next time, okay, I'm going to give you the floor this time because we work well together, right? Because I look, even
I don't see Donald Trump bringing him under the wing. So,
but that's what works about it.
Well, it does, but I don't think Donald Trump has the humility to actually be able to bring in a successor.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So here's what Donald Trump's going to do. Donald Trump's going to bring in Tulsi Gabbard under his wing. So, which is basically going to pit her against fucking DeSantis in 2028. Yeah. So, which is not going to fucking work. So, I don't think Joe Biden's going to run. I'm about 80-20 on that now. So after what I've seen the last couple times, Democrats are going to either have to dig deep down and find another fucking Bill Clinton, like you said last week, and they might find one. So you never know. I don't know who it would be. So, but they might find one.
That's the trick.
Exactly. And nobody's going to come. Politico's not going to call that. Fucking NPR's not going to call that right now because they're too far out there. You know, they want Buttigieg, and he's fucking cooked. So you know. Oh yeah. So even after all the bullshit that he's like taking for this train crash, which I explained in detail last week.
You sure did. You sure did. And you know what? I have seen of all publications.
They don't come back together.
No. Of all publications, right? You know who came clean on basically what you said?
What's that?
The New York fucking Times.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Where it was like, oh wait, the STB is actually forcing the railroads to take these fucking transports.
Oh, and the other thing, the question of would these deregulatory motions have prevented this accident? And
the answer is a big fat fucking no. Yeah. So, but regardless, Buttigieg is fucking sunk, and that's a good thing. So, because he's just not in a place to actually take over the mantle of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party's got to come back to the center, man. So Joe Biden's the best thing he could do. He's too fucking old to do it, though. So, you know.
Well, frankly, if I were going to nominate anybody, it would be that guy in Denver
Oh, absolutely, but he's like way too smart to take that.
He's too good to be president.
He's too good to be president.
Good to be your president, guys.
He's too good, and he's got another 4 years where he can sit and ride his coattails here and pump in on a midterm. So he's fine.
Yeah.
And that's if he decides to do it. I mean, the guy's worth $500 million. He might say, fuck it, I'm going to go like to Mars with Elon Musk.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. I get it. So my guess, all right, if I were going to put, if I had to put money on it, instead, like, this is like the, it's like when you look at the 32 NFL teams at the beginning of the season,
Right,
and they're
okay.
like, the Jets are at like 16,000 to 1 or whatever. If I had to pull something here and say I have the best odds, they're going to try and push some dickhead from California.
Oh, right? Yeah. No, Gavin Newsom is totally going to step into that.
And
the fucking second that Joe Biden says, I'm not sure about it, he's going to jump in there, which means the Democrats are going to fucking lose. Which unfortunately means that unless Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump can sort their shit out, which you cannot do with the fucking orange menace still out there and healthy as a fucking horse. So,
well, I mean, look.
He's just going to jump right back in there. Now,
of course he is. Yeah. Because
all right. Let me put this on this podcast right now.
Okay.
All right. So, I despise Donald Trump. I think he's a horrible human being. Okay? I think all the diagnoses that people have made from afar are 100% accurate. About him being a narcissist, piece of shit, and, completely fine, on, like, whatever their diagnosis is going to be. I'm going to totally put up that. I will completely discount the idea that he was actually trying to take over the government in, January 6th. I think he was just doing his Twitter thing. Now, were there some, like, Christian nationalist assholes there who were trying to do that for him? Absolutely. And the FBI has gone after them greatly, and I appreciate that from the FBI. I really do. So, I really do. The fact that the FBI director yesterday came out and said that Joe Biden's full of shit and his administration is full of shit about the COVID thing just demonstrates my entire, like, conception about the FBI as being a fairly independent organization. So,
well, okay.
I get it. I get it.
What they said today, right? But
no, I didn't see that. But
later.
I don't think that Joe Biden has like direct control over the FBI. Yeah. Not like Donald Trump. Not like Barack Obama did for sure. So
no.
Yes.
We can talk about that too. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with like the entire executive branch being unified. So I don't think it is unified right now. So, but anyway, all right. Regardless of that, I don't think Donald Trump was actually trying to orchestrate anything. He was just playing the crowd, which is what he fucking does.
Yep.
So if there are people in the crowd trying to play him, fair enough. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do. Thank you, Mr. Putin, for showing us how it's done. So, but if Donald Trump is reelected, all right, which I think is a very, very good probability.
He's polling much higher than Joe Biden.
I think it's a very good probability. I think so, like, if he was actually the Republican nominee, there's a lot of Democrats that coalesce around. I don't think Joe Biden's actually got the stamina to be able to do it. I think a lot of people would just duck out at that point in time if he actually runs, which I'm putting a 20 with the 20 on the upside. I really don't think it's going to happen. So, but if that actually does happen, all right, so this is podcast 122 right here. I want to put this on record right now.
Okay, all right.
If Donald Trump is reelected, the Ukraine situation will die down. So the China situation will escalate. The economy will experience massive inflation, which it will do regardless of who's president. Okay? But we will do a good job of reshoring a lot of those jobs. Okay? So the border will be wide fucking open. So, and really when it comes down to it, the dude will be old enough at a point in time. He will ask for a third term. He won't get it. He will duck out gracefully. Most things will be cool. So I don't really see a huge problem with the Trump presidency over the next 4 years. So, and that, God damn it, that takes a lot, like, of just like objective me looking at it.
Well,
kind of things to say. I will not vote for the motherfucker. So, but if he wins, I will. I won't feel terrible about our future.
Well, so. Patrick, this is radio, not television. So what I have to explain to the crowd at home
this is
here
really painful for me.
Is what you didn't see is Patrick is such a professional that he said those things with a clear, unbiased, tone. Right? He just locked in. He said with a very stentorian mode, and he delivered. Now, what you didn't see is that every word that came out of his mouth, it made it clear that he was saying it as though this was the only way to get the hostages released. It was like
it kind of.
It was. Is like under extreme duress. So I need you to understand that he didn't say that. Not without grimacing. No, okay, so
I don't like any of it, but hey, like straight up, I don't think he would do a bad job, especially since he's at a 4-year timeout.
And like all good replicants, that's when your life is supposed to naturally end, right before.
Which his power's down.
Because if you don't, like Rick Deckard has to fucking retire you, and that's the whole.
She's only gonna live so long.
That's fine. I find it oddly coincidental that the term is 4 years, but yeah, you're right. Because here's the other problem with Joe Biden, right? This is the hanging nightmare that they're currently situated with. Is let's say he does run again, right? Let's say that he has a burst of energy and says, "Hey, look, guys."
Well, you're basically passing on to Kamala Harris at that point.
That's the problem. Is right now there is no worse poison in that party than that woman.
Well,
nobody likes her.
No. The worst one is if Joe Biden ducks out and Hillary Clinton comes back.
Oh, well, I know.
Yeah,
that's,
all right. Well, that's a real possibility.
It is, and I know she's egotistical enough to pop in there and say, like, this is finally my time. It's like, really? Okay, well, I don't know.
I can totally see her rallying enough of the Democratic base to be able to make that push, especially if Joe Biden ducks out. So, like, to Uncle Joe's credit, I think he realizes that.
He's been on vacation 2 out of every 3 days, so, I mean, I don't want to tell you. So,
no.
That's his best move, is to stay quiet.
Well, I think he's smart enough to actually be able to do that.
Agreed.
So,
That's to his credit, because Joe
Biden was a constant combatant with Hillary Clinton throughout the entire Obama administration. So, and so, like, I don't know, man. He might even play spoiler in this one. I don't think that Joe is actually as incognizant as people think he is. So I think he takes a little bit longer to think about things than other people do. I think he's a little bit more deferential to, like, people like Blinken and stuff like that. But at the same point in time, I don't think he's actually out of control of things. I do think that he's smart enough to realize that, like, even just looking at his own performance over the last 5 years, that he doesn't have that much time left. Like, honestly, I think Joe Biden's going to pull a Jimmy Carter. All right. So what he's going to do is going to set up whoever is the next president, even if it's Donald Trump, for quite a bit of success, and then just duck out. So. And Jimmy Carter totally fucking, like, napalmed his entire party when he left.
Yeah, okay.
But he also passed things on to like Ronald Reagan, and he knew he was cognizant enough to actually be able to do that. So by giving, like, who was it, Paul Volcker at the Fed, like, free reign to actually tackle inflation, which he knew was going to cost him the election. So he also, like, didn't actually pursue war with Iran at that point in time, because it was like, oh, okay, well, fuck, this is going to get everybody riled up, and it's not that big of a fucking deal. And so like I don't know, man. A lot of people like to tear down Joe on certain things, but I think, like if you look at his record legislatively, what he's actually been able to put us in, some people disagree with it, some people don't agree with it, but like literally when you set policy, people will align towards the policy later. Obamacare is a perfect example of that. I think he's done the same thing with the CHIPS Act. I think he's done the same thing with the Inflation Adjustment, which is basically getting us on electrical grid, getting nuclear energy set back up. He's setting policy. He's putting in pieces on the place on the board where he can duck out and somebody else is going to have to play with them. And Donald Trump picked that out like no problem, So there is almost no difference between Joe Biden's policies and Donald Trump's policies if you actually fucking look at them.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, they're like two fucking presidents glued together, just like George W. Bush and Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. So there's almost no policy difference between the two of them. So the big differential is Donald Trump in 2016. So... and previous to that, it was like the difference between Bush and Clinton. So there was massive difference right there in terms of deficit spending and stuff like that. So, but really, when it comes down to it, if you look at the next next 8 year after George W. Bush, Barack Obama did the same fucking thing. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Donald Trump, fucking Joe Biden just took all his shit and cleaned it up, and put it through Congress.
Well, that was sort of his. I don't even know if you want to call it a strategy, but the when you break it down, it's just like, well, what are you going to do? It's like, well, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to present it as not racist.
Exactly.
Okay. And how do you?
That was the whole thing with the border and that entire COVID, fucking A, man. And most people were looking at that. I was like, oh, well, shit, the border's wide open. And he's like, oh, no, he's turning away a lot of motherfuckers using Donald Trump's policy that was put in place in COVID. And it's like, oh, well, like, you're going to fight it in the Supreme Court? And they're kind of like, well, yeah, we kind of do because we have to.
But it's, really. There's sort of there's a very tongue-in-cheek like, oh, no, we might lose this one. Oh,
exactly.
Shoot.
Oh, darn. Yeah.
You don't say. Right.
Well, they're doing the same thing with the whole student debt thing right now. He's like, oh, shit, we might lose, whatever.
And that is completely like, no, well, don't blame me. It's the Supreme Court that shot it down. I was trying to get you guys money.
Yeah, but that's smart politics. It's very cynical, but it's
manipulative, and it's
it totally
that
is.
Absolutely that is so wrong.
I get that.
But yeah, let's keep in mind who he's going against, and I think you're absolutely right. So when it comes down to it, and I'm very much the same way in this. Only I don't love Donald Trump. I don't hate him. I recognize him for what he is. He's a carnival barker. I knew that. No, I knew that from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I knew he was a huckster,
that's true. He
right?
Totally did.
But I knew what he was, right? And so if you're asking me, when it comes down to it, when you're asking me, like, I'm not fighting these policies. I actually find a lot of these to be very reasonable. They're presented like in a severely like retarded kind of way because it resonates with some people, sure. Right? That's how you actually. I'm going to tell you, nobody knows how. I can't name a single president that knows how to fill a stadium the same way that guy does.
No, right? I've never seen one.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe Ronald Reagan, but I wasn't there for that.
Not in the beginning, but I mean, after I would imagine that 84 Ronald Reagan probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the point on this one here is, yes, my whole problem is that I feel like I deserve something better. I feel like I deserve, like what you said, I would love to get this out of a rational or a just more cleanly presented package, right?
Sure.
That's what I'd want. I'm never going to get that.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And that speaks to us as a whole. We get the politicians we deserve, and that's how it's going to go, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Ratings follow the audience.
They sure. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it, and that's where I think that's why I say that he and DeSantis have a symbiotic relationship. Trump goes out there and gets all the attention by putting this crap out there on Front Street, saying things loudly and everything like that, while DeSantis can go out there and actually, he has power to get things done on a local level, right, by coming across as not such a fucking lunatic, right? Because for all this stuff, right?
I get that, man. I just don't know if like Trump can actually tolerate him. So
I agree. No, that's
going to be the question,
right?
Yeah,
you'd have to sit down and have an outside source that can actually. So you'd have to get somebody. It's basically like you'd have to get somebody that can speak like. They both speak English, but they're very different dialects. So you'd have to get an interpreter between them to translate. Yeah, you'd have to get somebody to actually translate DeSantis to Trump and Trump to DeSantis, because they're speaking two very, different versions of English. Where it's like, where one person says something, you have to say it's like, I'm not your enemy, but it has to come around to say like, this will benefit both of us, right? Whatever.
Yeah, no, and that's a really good opportunity for a future Bill Clinton to sneak in there.
Yep.
Who knows who?
Or Barack Obama. Nobody.
Or Barack Obama. Yeah, absolutely.
He gave one speech, and people were like,
"Yeah, in 2004." Yeah, and all of a sudden, actually, I think it was 06.
It was 06.
Yeah, it was 06, and they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Yeah. So you never know, man. So. I don't know, man. I've seen so many Republican governors just get torched and burned to the ground. And Donald Trump was responsible for like 3 of those. Yeah. Yep. He's got a pretty good track record on how to like punch down. So.
And that's the thing is, I think that's part of it. I think there's a part of people that's. I want to give them credit. I want to give them credit to say, all right, I don't hate this being in the White House because that's not my neighborhood. I don't want him running
a small neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't want him running my city.
It's between the Arby's and the Hardys. Yeah. You're gonna stop at one before you get to the other.
I don't remember the divide, so it's like, so for those of you west of, Kansas, that's Hardy's territory. For the rest of you, this is Carl's Jr. or whatever. It's kind of rough, and
I don't know, man. If I were to put myself in the Senate shoes, I'd chill the fuck out for 2 years.
I would see how the book tour goes. I would see how it goes.
Okay.
I would see,
yeah.
I think that's exactly what he's doing. I think he's just waiting to see if, like.
Oh no, I don't think anybody will accuse him of being stupid. So,
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, but yeah, book tour goes well. All right, maybe take on the Don. So, if it's a little lukewarm, it dies out in 2 weeks. Yeah, okay. Be the governor of Florida for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're in good position, especially if the Democrats are able to torpedo Donald Trump. So,
but yeah, if they
you'll know that in another year
or
two. Yeah.
Yeah, because the funny thing about there's a group of people, including Mayor Pete there, right? So every now and then, like
Mayor Pete.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg.
Pete
right?
Buttigieg. Like Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg.
So the thing that I laugh at
doesn't
here,
really launch itself into a presidential campaign.
Just change your name.
I ran the buses.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, but what's kind of funny is, like, you've watched the NFL for a long time. Every now and then, they'll have this crop of people, right? So they'll be like this. It's the quarterback class of 22. We've got a bunch of potential like superstars right here. We expect great things, and then like you look at it and like RG3 didn't win shit.
Chris Sims.
I'm trying to remember. It was like the year that it was like the fight for like. I think it was Andrew Luck and RG3, and every now and then they're like, this is going to be the best quarterback class ever, right? And then you look at that quote-unquote Democrat best class ever of Mayor Pete and like fucking Beto O'Rourke and all these...
Oh, God, man.
And you look at this draft class where you're like, man,
that guy get murdered in the governor's race.
Yeah, he did for like the third time.
Yeah, leave, man. You know, Beto.
Yeah, it's like Tulsi Gabbard she was part of that graduating class. What happened? She plays for like the 49ers now. That's what I'm saying.
She's an easy grab for like a fucking like VP run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like, especially now that Nikki Haley went on her own. I mean, she's like low hanging fruit for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So
I haven't even begun to start strategizing what her deal is.
I don't know, man. I don't have a problem with her. I just don't like her like fucking America Empire stance. See, like I love.
Can we not do that?
I get it, man. And so, like, I've been watching and reading Greenwald's shit for years, man. I love that dude.
Yeah.
But he's going off in that direction too now, man. So, and it's like, yeah, you live in fucking Brazil, man. So it's easy to throw rocks at, a house that's not your own. So, but I don't know, man. And see, that's the thing is, like, I've been identifying with more conservative commentators lately about the, like, whole thing. It was like, actually, no, we are the fucking good guys. Fuck all you all. So I get it. So, yeah, we fucked up in Iraq. So, but I was totally for that when that happened. So, we're not going to do that again. Right. So, yeah, but still at the same point in time, I mean, you see this shit about, like, the Russians, like, setting up Ukrainian death camps. It's like, is that real? And then you look into it a little bit and like, oh, fuck, it is. That sucks, man. So, and
I agree.
It's just like, you got to be the good guys at some point in time. And if nobody else is going to do it, all right, fuck it. So I'd rather spend $500 billion like getting Russia to gore itself on its own fucking horn here than, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know, man. My thinking on this has changed a little bit. So just because it's like, all right, so you look at it. So how much money would you spend to stop Hitler in 1935? A lot. So,
we just said, like, okay, so a Hitler situation, and I can't go too deep into this because I refuse to have another Hitler titled episode, but we just said, all right,
we're going to telefrag Hitler. So, yeah, no, that would be really nice to have that right now. Yeah.
But the thing that I'm saying here is, like, do you cash it all in today because you won't have it tomorrow, or do you have to think like, boy, it'd be cool if we had something left in the fridge, right?
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's a tough call. So, yeah, I mean, you have to know how it turns out in order to make that call accurately. So, and that's just not in the cards. So, like, I've been reading a lot about the Taiwan shit lately too, and it's just like, all right, well, you guys have to put in. So you have to want to have this. All right, so, but at the same point in time, if you're going to push us to that situation where, like, holy fucking shit, they're coming, what are you going to do? It's like, well, fuck, okay, I guess we're in, at this point in time, it's just like...
May I propose a counter argument?
Sure.
If they go after Taiwan, you attack the mainland.
Just drop a nuke right on Xi Jinping? Yeah, sure. It's like, you guys serious about this? All right, so 17 minutes. We'll see how you feel about this.
You'll never see it coming.
You'll never see it coming.
Because they'll be waiting for us down there.
Yeah, they'll be waiting for us. Yeah. So, no, it's just one of those things, man, where it's just like... All right, man. Like, how far are we going to let people push us around on this shit? So,
well, and that's that's a all right.
And the whole COVID thing, this week, with all that shit coming out.
Oh yeah.
It's like, you motherfuckers, like, even the FBI is like, yeah, and like Department of Energy is like, yeah, and State Department's like, no, we got to be cool because we still have to maintain relationships. I see all of those points. I see all of those perspectives and stuff like that, but really when it comes down to it, how much you gonna let a bully push you around the playground? You know, especially when you're the guy who's been in the gym for the last 70 fucking years. You know, and you see people beating up on other people around there. You're just going to stand back and say, nah, you know what? I'm going to build up more muscles. You know, it's like, what the fuck are these for if we're not going to use them? So,
Look,
you know, and
Patrick,
yeah, we beat up that little kid over there. You know, we stood him back up on his feet and shit like that. You know, we told his dad what was what.
look, man. Okay.
So,
I know what you're saying, but the truth of the matter is, the mayor in Jaws is not the good guy, right?
He's got the anchors on his coat.
He's not, because you know what he's looking out for. He's like, look, I'm just trying to, keep the place in business.
I get that.
But when it comes down to it, you knew, right? That's the problem, right?
And that's been my kids out there.
Hey guys, I can make non-sports metaphors, you know that, right?
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's the trick. Is like, yeah,
My kids were out there. You're gonna sign this sheet. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna sign this sheet. We're gonna hire Quentin. We're gonna kill the shark. The shark might eat Quint. So that's I used to hate the water.
like, you could empathize with the mayor, but he's still the bad guy.
He's still the bad
right?
guy, yeah.
Because he didn't make the tough call when he had to make the tough call.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is the weird thing about it is, all right.
It's such a good metaphor. That's so good.
Well, I know you could just pick up that, like you saw the fumble happening like a mile away, and you just swoop it up. I know you can pick up that ball. Well, the thing here is, the only question I have on this one here is we've been bouncing between this. So every other president, we've been taking a different attitude of, we don't take shit from nobody, and then it's like, not our problem. We don't take shit from nobody. It's not our problem,
yeah.
right? So which cycle of this are we in? I don't know, because as of right now, we're donating money and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of a halfway thing. And I can also make the argument that, hey, if I'm going to go ahead and pull out Cold War vibes here, right, I can say, you know what, Russia, we can outspend you. Right? That's how we whooped you last time. We can do it again.
Yeah.
Causes problems. I understand, but you can't win this game.
No, and I've had other people, like, the few people that have expressed this too as well. It's like, hey man, we did a Cold War before. We're good at it, so we can totally do that.
We're 1 for 1.
Exactly. I like that. I'm gonna take that.
We're batting 1,000, man.
We're batting 1,000 on Cold Wars. So,
any other countries can say that?
Yeah.
Not if you weren't on our side.
Yeah. 0. Yeah, we're 1 for 1 on Cold Wars. That's a good episode title. But no, man. I mean, that's the thing is, like, it looks like Ukraine's going to have a rough time this spring, from what everybody says, and I don't necessarily take their opinions at face value
It can be hyperbole. It can be.
Correct.
Yep.
I mean, you can do the math on it, and the math looks bad. So, but then you could do the math on it last February, and the math looked bad. But
as I've said, every prediction I've made thus far has been wrong.
Correct. Me too.
So
Me too.
I have to hold that.
But the whole Cold War thing, especially with China, which is so fucking far off the rails, man. Oh my god, man! I love that channel.
I watched that this week. It's like, you guys are a fucking mess.
I know, man. And it's just like nobody knows what's going on there. So, and these two guys kind of have it dialed in for me, where I can actually speak on that with a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
Compared to just about anything else that I hear, and I see other people talking about it. It's like, you guys are full of shit. You need to go watch this podcast. So
why? Because these are the guys that actually disseminate information.
Correct.
Instead of
Well, they
like,
read the
runs
shit, and they read Chinese quote unquote Twitter. So
Well, they read it, then they reach out to their contacts, or their contacts reach them for confirmation, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I wish I had a contact like that in Ukraine, but I can't find a good one. So it's
everything
too
I
far.
have is way too secondhand, and it's way too biased.
Well, it's on one side or the other, man.
Yeah.
It's completely crazy, So it's like all these guys are playing Valorant here and trying to tell me what the fuck is going on in Ukraine. So it's like you can't do it. So, but that whole thing. So with China in particular, it's just like, okay. So and I'm even starting telling my contacts at work about this. So it's like, guys, get ready, man. Fucking jobs are coming back. So the inflation's going to be a fucking thing because shit's going to be more expensive to produce. We're going to have to decide what it is that we're willing to spend money on. My guess is on eggs as opposed to flat screen TVs.
You're not good on flat screen TVs for right now, unless
You get one now, man.
Well, no, okay. So I got plenty. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm good too. I just got a new curved one for my father-in-law. It's great. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm good for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's just
eggs. I need those next week.
So Pat, I was out of eggs, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you look on the back of like a Hungry Jack box, right?
Hungry Jack.
Yeah. Pancakes.
Pancakes? Yeah.
So it has options for you to make pancakes and make waffles. I really wanted a waffle. I had no eggs, right?
Buttermilk.
Well, I don't have any buttermilk either. I don't keep that in the house because there's only one place you'd use it.
Right, waffles.
Well, so the thing is, so it has the pancake directions, no egg, and then it has the waffle direction with egg, right? And I was like, how can this be that different?
What did you do?
So here's the thing is, I don't know what the science is, right? But if you say, like, times are tough with eggs, I just don't have any, I'm going to make eggless waffles, right? What happens there is they still come out like waffles. They still taste okay, right?
Okay.
But they are incredibly fragile.
Oh yeah, they break apart.
Yeah. I didn't know that was just putty. I didn't know that was. I didn't know that was just like quick read. It's whatever it is that actually gets the grout to bond. I was like, oh shit. Now I was like, this tastes like a really delicate kind of like a French waffle. Like approach it, gingerly.
Like crepe. Yeah.
But what I went in there for was an American waffle.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, you need eggs.
Thick and chewy. Yeah. So I mean, that's a minor complaint. So if I have eggless waffles, I'll live.
Yeah.
I don't consider this the future that I want to live in.
Right.
But it is what it is.
You get yourself a big old bag of xanthan gum.
Yeah, I can't keep that in the house. I'll just eat it.
You gonna eat a binder? That's good. That's good. It's not chewy. Oh, fuck.
No, man. There's some we touched on some pretty big stuff here, man. There's been some funnier stuff going on this week. Have you kept up on at all about Scott Adams?
Yes. So I've been meaning to go back and actually read the actual podcast or watch the actual podcast where he said, all right, so what actually happened with him?
Okay, so
because he said, like, white people need to stay the fuck away from black people.
He did.
But what was the context there? I don't really buy that. He was like, arguing for segregation of America.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
So here's where, all right, I'll give you the best, most open summary that I can. Okay, so I was there when it happened, right?
Oh, you watched it?
I follow Scott Adams.
Yeah,
right?
No, he's great. Yeah.
So here's the thing, and then so I got to, I didn't know the thing. I had to go back and look at it, right? Mm-hmm. Because when the headline came out, like, he said that? Like, I know there's every now and then where I'm like, could be secret racist, I don't know. But so...
He never struck me as a racist.
No, he struck me as a person that has views about race. They are not always pretty, right? I don't think they come from a place of white supremacy. Right. But so what happens here is earlier on in the week, there's a poll that comes out. I can't remember from where. Okay. And the poll basically says 40%, 40, I think it's like 46% of black people polled said, and I quote, "It's not okay to be white."
Yeah, I saw the poll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he kind of took this and ran with it. He didn't like that. Okay. So this is where he starts going on this tirade of like, I don't get it. He's like, you have to understand. It's like, I have lived my life. I think he was married to a black woman for a while too, but
I don't know.
or something like that. But he's just like, I have lived my life trying to like always help black people and stuff like this. Here, he's like, but you have to take a look at where my efforts have gone. Right. Mm-hmm. I am now with a group of 46% of people who say it's not okay for me to be white. Right. Now, the thing is, this is his argument there is like, so whatever I'm doing is not panning out, right?
Sure.
And that's when he said, like, so in what like world do you live in where a person like you would categorize that
sure
in any other definition as like a hate group, right?
Yeah.
And so if you were in a situation where 1 out of 2 people basically says it's not okay for you to be you,
right,
you would classify them as a hate group. The only thing that you can do now is get away from it because we're not helping.
Yeah, so, see, like, when I saw the comments, I thought he was making a rhetorical point. So, you know.
I still think he kind of is. I don't think
I think he is, too. I mean, you know, some people would associate him with, like, the Trump crowd and blah, blah, blah. But, like, I've read all this shit and watched all this shit. And, you know, the guy's, like...
He's the first one that said, like, he's just a boardwalk magician.
Exactly. He's a little bit more tongue-in-cheek than people are willing to give him credit for. So I actually questioned the poll on that one.
I look.
So, you know, because... All right, so... If you're going to ask a poll, like, is it not okay to be white?
How's the question phrased?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Who are you asking?
Yeah.
Where are you asking this? Yes.
So I listened to a couple guys... who are black and are a little bit on the right of center of the spectrum. So like John McWhorter and guys like that. So, but there was a guy that was on one of the podcasts that I listened to the other day. I'm going to have to follow this guy a little bit more. I'll have to pull up his name at some point in time. But he is actually what he calls a radical de-racialist. So... It's really interesting. Like
I can parse out, I think, what that means.
So, and he was talking specifically, so you and I were talking a couple weeks ago with, I think Will was here when we were talking about Black Little Mermaid.
Yes.
So, and he was like, he was like, this is part of the problem is that we weaponize all of this, the verbiage around things like this. And I don't remember the actress's name.
I think that's Halle Berry's daughter.
Yeah, but he was very...
It's like Haley Berry or something like that.
Yeah, he was very specific about the name on that. He said we should call it whatever her name was. Like Haley's Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he was like if you start pulling... This is a black guy. I mean, he's like... sitting here talking to 2 other people on this podcast who were, you know, very much so. One of them was a Jew, so who wrote this book called like woke anti-Semitism or something like that. And then the other girl.
No, I understand.
Yeah, the other girl was like really articulate and stuff like that, but she was pushing back on him pretty hard about this and like, well, what would we do when we identify like, you know, racial on racial crime and stuff like that? And he was like, well, Bob shot Jerry, so we should talk about the fact that Jerry shot Bob, you know, kind of thing. And it was a really interesting perspective on things. That, like, I don't know, man. It's pretty rare nowadays when, like, because I listen to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
All right. It's pretty rare when someone, like, makes me pause the podcast and back it up absorb that point.
Oh yeah.
This guy was
yeah,
making
yeah.
really fucking good points about this, about the fact that it's like, all right, so we're weaponizing the language, and by weaponizing the language, we're weaponizing the cultures behind it. And so, but really when it comes down to it, when we talk about like black on black crime, okay, so we're talking about culture.
Yes.
In that situation. And so when we use proxies for the culture, all right, and we label them as black, then we're painting in much broader perspectives than what we need to be. It's the fact that, fucking Joe, who lives in this culture and is a fucking gang lord, all right, so who actually is perpetuating all these crimes against the community, if we paint it as black on black, we're looking at it in terms of community when it's actually just Joe who's this fucking problem.
Right, because what this is the double-edged sword of trying to, God, this is just the worst part of it is from the same person in the same speech, you will have the person say, like, we are a community, we stand for this. The next words out of their mouth will say, we are not a monolith. I'm like, well, how do you want it, right? And this is the thing is, okay, if you're a monolith and you have behaviors that are shitty, then you have to police it. You have to be the ones to say this shit's gotta go. Well, or the other part of it is, then you can say, actually, we're not a monolith.
Right, Joe's an asshole, right, and we need to get rid of him. Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we're filing our divorce paperwork.
Right. Yeah.
For the motherfucking assholes who are making us look bad. Right? This was the same thing. This is the same thing that is still going on with parts of Islamic culture. It's like it's like when dipshits like Minnesota fucking Omar, when she said some people did some bad things, like on 9/11, like, you can say it.
Yeah, no, his name is Ahmed, and so, or what was the guy, Muhammad Atta. That like, guy's an asshole.
Right.
So, and you gotta police your own.
Yeah. You either, if you're a monolith, you have got to hold people to a standard.
Absolutely.
If you're a loose federation of people, which is what we all fucking are, right? Then you have to say, that man does not represent me.
Right,
Fuck
yeah.
him.
I can turn around and say, Ted Kaczynski does not represent my political views as a white man.
And this is the thing. It's like, that's the same thing. It's like painting like whites as a monolith. It's like, yeah, but that dude's Irish. Right?
Right, yeah.
Irish is different from Italian. Irish is different from...
Well, and see, that's this guy's point, is he should push it even further and actually take a look, at individuals, as individuals, and if they are a part of this culture, it's not a reflection upon that culture. Dude, like I'm telling you, man, I mean, I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again tonight, because the points he was making, they were just spot on, one after another, and he's fighting all three of these other guys off about this. It was brilliant. And, he actually, I don't think he made the point exactly about the Little Mermaid, but he was talking about a different thing that was kind of in that same family of stuff. And it was like, and we had mentioned like last week with Will about like, oh, it's going to be the Black Little Mermaid kind of thing. And he was like, no. All right, that's her Little Mermaid. Okay. So if you choose to and if people are promoting it as that, then that's on them. Okay. So, and those are the people that you need to call out in a situation like this. So, because really when it comes down to it, we're not that far apart on a lot of things. All right. But if you're using this language to actually separate things like that and actually group people together as like, oh, okay, well, all black people are going to be behind this Little Mermaid because, she's black. All right, that's patently and obviously not true. Well, the same thing with like communities and crimes and stuff like. He was like specifically going into black on black crime, and he was like, no, that's this guy. Okay, that's not representative of all of us. In fact, if you actually go around there and poll that community, all right, 90% of the people in that community are going to say that guy's a fucking asshole. So, and yeah, absolutely, you should toss his ass in jail. All right, and are we going to sit around here and protest on the streets, because that guy did this to those people? Fuck no, we're not. Okay, so, it was really refreshing, kind of like forward-looking way to actually like take some of this shit and really pull a lot of the teeth out of that entire I don't know, the narrative that, yeah, I get it, man. It's the first step in the right direction. No, I'm going to follow this guy.
No,
so, yeah.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't disagree with anything that's been said. I really don't. My argument here, and I know this is something that you and Will have been saying. You were kind of like chiming in there in the background. It's like about money. It's like not, because they're actually not making money from this. They're losing money from this, and what that means is this is a deliberate action where you're saying all right, we're willing to sacrifice money in order to promote what we think are these values. But the question here is, what about these values do you find so endearing, right? Sure, and I'm not saying this is, an equity thing or anything like that. When it comes down to it, your argument is that, right, and this has been the crux of it. This is the word that always comes up is representation matters, right?
Sure.
Yeah, representation matters, okay? And the point that this is the thing that people always joke about here, and they're absolutely right, is... So they're like, all right, so the Little Mermaid's black now. There's finally someone here that looks like me. It's like, all right, got it, right? But then you go out there and you go to black boys, even black men. It's like, so what's your favorite show? And they're going to say, Dragon Ball.
Right. Yeah.
You think I'm joking?
No, I know you're not joking. Yeah.
Right? Even 50-year-old people, it's like, watch that with my kids. That's like our show. It's so representation doesn't matter. The representation that you're into is the ass kicking, right? And that's the thing where it comes down to, what do you mean represents you? What parts? Can you only be represented by somebody that has a physical appearance that is similar to you? Because you can't have a cultural representation under the sea unless it turns into some stereotypical black sassy shit. Come on, man. We don't need to do that.
No, I get you on that one. So I guess my defense of the money argument is I'm not entirely sold that the executives in situations like that don't think that it's going to translate into money just quite yet. So I think we've hit that tipping point. So where they realize it's not actually going to happen, and so they're not going to underwrite projects like this over the next 2-3 years. I don't know that. All right, so I guess the record will bear me out on the next couple of years.
Right. So
my question is all right, so fine, we've let you guys run with this for a couple of years. Probably the last 4 or 5, if not a little bit more, but definitely the last 4 or 5. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is going to pay out for us, all right, because this is where the market is going. Again, this is just my purely econometric, view of it in some respects. So, but, really when it comes down to it, if I'm looking at my Disney stock and it's tanking, I'm fuck it. All right, so who do I have to hold accountable for this?
Well, here's the one thing I can say to you is, do you know what the next few Pixar projects are?
No, I don't. So, but again, I would actually give them about an 18-month lead time. So.
Well, they announce well in advance.
Yeah.
Right? So what I can tell you is their next projects are all sequels of old properties. They're bringing back Toy Story. They're doing. Here's the thing, that's the thing is, look, I've made this joke about management. You know how this goes.
Sure.
People don't watch you closely until the money stops rolling in.
Right. And so I guess my point would be that tipping point is about to be upon us.
I would argue that the scales here are wobbling, right? Somebody's deciding whether to take, do I take, one little, okay, I don't want to take a big step right. But yeah, that's sort of.
I can take a Yellowstone step right. And we can fight with Kevin Costner later.
We can. It's like this.
We get Matthew McConaughey. He's got a Mexican wife. It's cool.
He's from Texas.
He's from Texas.
That counts.
Yeah, he's from Austin, man. That's a cool place to be now. apparently.
Not to the Austinians.
Not to the Austinians, but that's okay. They're going to be priced out of their own market soon enough.
Having trouble with outlaw street racers. Have you seen this shit?
What, outlaw street racers? Well, that's common around here, man.
No. So there is an entire fucking... I don't know, but okay, just
okay.
Watch, the cops can't handle it. I'm just going to put that it's that bad.
Well, it's Texas, man. Don't they just shoot them with Barrett rifles now? Or?
That's a thought.
Yeah, okay.
Like in good Texas, yes.
In good Texas. In Waco.
Wait a minute.
All right, man.
We have to close doors instead of opening them. So. Final thoughts.
All right. We'll be back on Friday.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts. Ron DeSantis needs to be very, very careful with the Orange Menace. So, that thing is a prickly pear. And, well, actually, no, it's more like a pufferfish. Don't choke on it.
Okay. So, yes, I think you're right. But I would also say that there are two people. One held the office last, the other one holds it now. I wouldn't mind if they're hanging around a Florida cliff on a windy day.
I don't think Mitch McConnell's going that close to the cliffs, man.
Wait, not him.
All right.
Oh, yeah, trust me. I wouldn't mind if he was sightseeing at the same time.
That guy's pretty dangerous.
Don't want him gone, man.
Yeah.
I'm sick of his
He
ass.
ain't gone yet, man. He's too smart.
Fucking orc-looking motherfucker. Just get...
He's got all the knives, though.
Good
Man.
dickhead. Fucking, I know they dug you out of the dirt in Mordor, man. Fucking go back to
He's coming
Piece
for
of
you.
shit.
Yeah.
You gotta hit the button, man.
All right, I'm Pat.
All right, I'm Jeffrey.
I'm hitting a button.
All right.